true, but when the rubber meets the road and people actually behave as if they do, and somehow we don't miss that incongruity. And so that's basically what my work is to do, is to point out the incongruity so that we can live in peace and harmony with ourselves and with others by recognizing this truth. And I do have one guest on tonight who had an interesting statement. I'll just maybe ask her to repeat that again and see what we can do about that tonight.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi Cindy.
Hey.
My name's Linda, and ever since I found out I was going to do this, I've been full of thoughts of self-hatred in all different varieties, in every variety you can think of. But, you know, like I said to Cindy, apart from that, everything's great.
Sorry, you said ever since you found out what?
Well, particularly this morning, since I realised that I was going to do this, come on here and look at it, it seems like every single thing has just come up. Anyway.
So this is nothing new. These are things that have come up before.
Yes.
Okay.
I've noticed that, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so this is an example of what I would call a deterioration of thought. If you notice, what happens is the very first thought that comes up is actually quite benign. There's not really any trouble with the thought, oh, I'm going to come online tonight and talk with Cindy. Nothing wrong with that thought particularly. Then some other thoughts would come up. The next one might be, well, what'll I talk about? Right? And that's a harmless thought too, right? And then you would come to a thought, well, oh, well, I could talk about this. Oh, well, I could talk about that. And I could talk about this. And that, oh my God, there's a lot wrong with me. Now this thought, it's starting to be troublesome, isn't it? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then it can come to the point where you have the thought, I'm just full of self-hatred. Ooh. Now, isn't that the be-all, end-all? Yeah, that's probably the most excruciating one. So you can see that as thoughts deteriorate like this, they get more and more painful. Right? Yeah. So
yeah. Yeah.
One thought leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and it goes through the mental errors, the thinking errors called deletion, distortion, and generalization. So a deletion would be something like, well, you're deleting all the times that you don't. There's nothing wrong with you, right? All you're doing is looking at the bad, and so you've in effect deleted all the good. That's a deletion. A distortion is, well, I'm coming on tonight. What do I want? Okay, I can talk about this. I can talk about that, and then it becomes, oh my God, there's so many things wrong. You know, or
yes,
there's
like
it's just
effect.
Huh?
It's like the snowball effect.
The snowball effect.
You know, that like the domino effect. It just gathers momentum.
Effect. Yeah, and then it can become, you know, well, everything is wrong with me, and that's a generalization. Yeah. And then it can't even become, well, there's, you know, something wrong with everybody else, and then it can get even worse. And I've got some clients like this where, you know, what's the point? They come to what's the point, and what does that imply? What's the point of living, right? These are the people that suffer the most when the thinking has deteriorated to that degree. Now, the good news, here's the good news. The good news is it doesn't matter how far along this path the thinking has deteriorated, you can instantly stop and instantly reverse it. Okay? And that none of the thoughts are true.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, you know.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's the saving grace. It doesn't matter how bad the thought is at all. None of it is true. No thought is true, but all thoughts believed in are experienced. And the more they're believed in, the more powerful you experience them. So just because a thought feels really bad and powerful doesn't mean it carries any truth whatsoever. It just means that it's really believed in. And a lot of attention is going on to it, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I had a little crack this morning, like a little gap, where I realised to a point that it wasn't, none of this was true. So that was really refreshing. Like, oh, there's hope. There's, it really isn't true. But I think so many years of believing and seeing how they've come up over the years as well, the same things have come up, and I've continued to believe in them.
Yeah, just
And so
because.
now yeah, out of habit or out of, I don't know, out of choice, whatever. Yeah, but I'm really ready to see, I just really want to let it all go. I've really had a gutful.
Yeah, good, good. You know, that's the point you need to come to, everybody needs to come to, where I've had enough, you know. And it's not so much choice. Yes, it's largely habit. I would call it confusion. You know, we are confused. We think thoughts somehow carry some kind of truth. And the content of thought, you know, the content of it. What I'm saying is thought themselves inherently have no truth. It's sort of like thought is a sports commentator, right? They're up in a booth, they're isolated in a booth, and they're nattering on about the game, but it has nothing to do with the game.
Yeah. I feel though, like Cindy, like not only, yeah, I agree totally with what you're saying, but I'm also thinking, these are thoughts as well, that I've got the physical evidence because they're all to do with my body. So now, now I've got to sort of overcome the physical evidence that I can see. But I suppose, like, ultimately I'm seeing with my mind, with my thoughts, I'm perceiving, and I sort of realise that. But I'm sort of, yeah, I sort of look at myself and I see this evidence of how awful I am.
Let me
Yeah.
explain to what degree to how extreme I want to get this across, that thoughts are not real. Okay, so say you have this container. Okay, let's call it a glass. Okay, so you and I can agree this is a glass, right? Yeah. So is the word glass this?
No.
Right. Right. And glass, is that a thought?
Yes, totally.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you see how they're different?
My mind's just getting all baffled. But I do understand where you're getting at. It's just that my mind just baffled itself.
Good.
And now I've just gone blank.
Good. That's a good sign. It's because we used to think we were so certain that thought had truth, that thought was truth, and now it's sort of like, that's pulled away, right? Now, a thought is not truth. It's not what we're pointing to. It's a pointer. It's like the map is not the territory.
What about the matter, like the glass,
Mm-hmm.
like this cup I'm holding up? That's a thought, because everything I think I know about the cup, I'm thinking about.
Is a thought.
It's a thought.
It's not the cup, though.
No, it's not the cup. Oh, okay, it's not the cup.
Uh-huh.
No.
Uh-huh.
I have to think about that.
Yeah. So it's the same thing, as I was saying, is the map is not the territory. So if you go on a hike somewhere, right, and you run into a mountain, and you go, wait a minute, and you look at the map, and there's no mountain on the map, and you go, well, which is true? Is there really a mountain? Or no, we're going to stick with the map and deny the mountain. Right?
Wow.
And here's another example how thought is never true. Thought is always after the fact. So one day I was washing the floor with a bucket and a mop, and I pushed the mop in the bucket a little too hard and, jostled the bucket, and the water flowed up and over and onto the floor. And it just gushed everywhere. It was a lot of water. And I'm looking at it go. And a moment later I hear, there's water on the floor.
Ah, yeah.
Thank you, Peanut Gallery. It's like I didn't already know there was water on the floor. I didn't need a
Yeah,
thought to tell me that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like in A Course in Miracles, this book that I've been studying for years. It says you can't be angry at a fact. Like the fact was there was water on the floor.
Yeah.
You can't really just be angry at that. But it's what you're saying. It's everything that came after, all the judgments, all the thoughts.
Yes. There
That,
shouldn't be water on the floor. I shouldn't have pushed that so hard. How stupid of me, blah, blah, blah. No, none of that happened because I don't do that anymore. I remember doing that. Okay. So, yes, it's not the fact that ever hurts us. It's always the thought about the fact. And it's not the thought itself. The fact the thought exists is not a problem either. If you believe, if you believe the thought, if you contemplate the thought, if you put your power of attention into the thought itself is what feels bad, not the water on the floor. And so, you know,
yeah.
if we were touching a hot stove and we went, "Oh, that's hot," we wouldn't keep our hand on it, right? We would stop touching it. But because we confuse the water for the thought, we don't know where the pain truly is, we keep touching the thought. And so we keep hurting.
So you're saying it's not the thought that hurts, because thoughts are really harmless or neutral, whatever, but it's our belief.
Yes.
I seem to have a lot of belief.
Well, that's also a thought, though. It's what I call it's what I've added when I wrote Alchemy and The Happiness Lie. There were 3 powers that you were born with, that everybody's born with. I've recently added a 4th and a 5th. So it's your 4th power of authority. The authority that says this is true.
Wow.
Okay. And if you, I mean, there's people out there who, you know, if their partner was getting attention from another person, they would feel bad. They'd have some bad thought about that they'd believe, and they'd feel bad. Other people would feel good. They'd have some good thought feeling about that. You see? So same situation. What's different? It's not the outer circumstances.
Yeah.
Right? It's the power of authority to say what is true, what is right, what is wrong. And the moment you say something is wrong, you're going to hurt over it. And you're not actually saying that something is wrong. You're saying something about something is wrong. It's this imaginary thought that suffering is completely imaginary. It has nothing to do with reality.
That is the best news. Yes. Yes.
It is. It is very good news. And when you realize you don't have to do this, that there's nothing real about it whatsoever, then A Course in Miracles would say this is the ultimate in forgiveness. Nothing happened. Nobody did anything. And even you're forgiven because it never happened. It was just imagination.
Yeah.
Now, you said something about physical evidence. Again, as I'm glad you corrected and caught yourself, is the physical evidence is just what is. It's the thought about such physical evidence. But we can even, you know, we can even imagine physical evidence that isn't there. We're so certain that it's there.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah. So paying attention can decipher and, you know, sort of weed out. Paying attention to your reality, so-called reality, your experience is so simple. It's so simple. It's so direct. But mind is so complicated. And you really can't suffer about your direct experience. Believe it or not. I mean, even pain. When I was a young child, I clearly remember the first time I learned the word what happened was I'd cut my hand here, and there were all these weird sensations, you know. And I called my mom and I said, uh, picking. And she said, oh, she said, that's stinging. Oh. And then I said, hot. She goes, yeah, that's heat. I'm like, oh, okay. And it was just, I didn't have words for this. So I was describing different characteristics. And then she said to me, that's pain. Oh, pain. Okay. And then she said, that's bad. And I went, oh, stop it. Like I thought she could stop it, you know. I understood bad as to be bad. But I didn't understand pain as a bad thing. I just directly experienced these sensations. And
that
so even...
Sorry, Cindy. What a wonderful thing to be able to remember that. That is just such a wonderful illustration of how once it's been named, once we've been told, how it's all just totally made up. So normally, you know, a little kid would be crying or whatever, but you were at the stage before you'd been told what it was.
Yes.
And believed it. And it wasn't suffering for you.
No, it was direct experience. It was just all these weird sensations I'd never consciously felt. I don't know if it was the very first time I had a wound, or maybe it was the very first time I consciously had a wound, but the words weren't, I didn't have all the words, you know, that adults have. And so it was just pure direct experience until this overlay of a suffering word came on. And then everything changed. So, you know, even physical pain, it has sensations. But if we don't add on this overlay of mental psychological suffering, it's much more, I mean, livable. Physical pain it's what the body does. It's a message, you know, so that we take care of the body. It's just different from all the other sensations we've ever experienced. And it gets our attention.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I can see how physical pain is a message. I mean, but what about pain like that's just like chronic, ongoing, and that doesn't seem to be anything medical that can be done for it, and it can't really be a message, like as far as get your hand off the hot stove. It's not really being helpful anymore, except...
Actually, it is. The message is there is something wrong. There is something wrong with the body. Okay?
Wrong with the body? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's something wrong with the body. And whether you're touching a hot stove or whether you're having a stomach cramp, there's something wrong with the body. Like, it's not in its normal state, normal, healthy, functioning state. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's something like a hot stove or a knife, we've developed or instinctually have the reflex to pull back, or to do something, you know. Yeah. And with chronic pain, we haven't, science hasn't really got too much going in that ways. I have a herniated disc, and I actually just saw my doctor last week about it, and she really had nothing to offer. You know?
Yeah.
In fact, she offered pain clinics, and pain clinics, apparently there's like an 18-month wait for them, you know?
Yeah, I'm sort of in a similar situation because I've got a compressed nerve in my neck, and like there's, I don't know, like 100-year waiting list at the hospital.
Oh,
But what was I going to say? Yeah, pain is such an interesting thing because I started like with pain from a very early age, like with migraines, you know, and then, you know, got addicted to drugs and all that sort of stuff, and then got off the drugs, and then had a migraine one day and was lying there, and the pain used to be so bad that I'd hit myself with a hammer to try and knock myself out. And just for some reason, this time I thought, no, I'm just going to be with it and just allow it, because I was very fearful of the pain. I was very scared of it. And because I'd numbed it with painkillers for so many years and other drugs. So this time I just sat with it and let it be there. I've never had a migraine since. So that's, you know, just so amazing to me that
Yeah.
the way things work.
Yeah, I mean, the body-mind is not separate, right? And a lot of our aches and pains and whatnot are more psychological than not. And a lot of the pain, even if there is physical pain, there's also, like I say, this extra layer of psychological pain on top of it. I remember I was having a stomach ache one night. I had taken an iron pill along with orange juice on an empty stomach, and the pain arose, and I went, okay, that's the orange juice, you know, and it got worse and it got worse, and then it started to appear like nausea, and I thought, ooh, I think I'm going to be sick, and I thought, oh, I'm going to play with this. So I went and I laid down and I did the practice that I show people how to do, and I shifted my state, and as I felt better, the whole cloud of nausea just lifted. And it just dissolved. And I was left with a little pain in the stomach, you know. I fell asleep and it was gone by the next morning. I mean, I could have probably done something like eaten something or taking something else, but I was just experimenting with this to see to see what would happen, you know. So yeah, a lot of our pain is mental, psychological, and it manifests as physical. And so if there, this is why we, you know, tension, headache, and whatnot, you know. And so worrying about a physical thing can make it worse, for sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to just welcome. We have another guest. I want to acknowledge. We have another guest, Alex, but I think he took a break. So I want to acknowledge our new guest, Jacqueline. Welcome, Jacqueline.
I'm on mute. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
A bit late, but glad to be here.
Excellent. Perfect timing.
Super.
Have you been watching from the beginning?
No, I had some work to do. Okay. And I thought, no, I got to get back on this. And he's right. Wait, yeah, got to do it. And so here I am.
Right on. Okay. Just to let you know, because you're new here, that this is being recorded. It will go on YouTube. So if anybody doesn't want their picture shown, you can always just take the camera off and just come in via mic. But otherwise, you're welcome to stay. Hey, Alex is back. Hey, Alex.
Hello. I wanted to eat some dinner, and I didn't think you wanted to watch me eat dinner, so I turned the video off.
Very good. Very good. What did you think of that beginning? You heard the beginning in the beginning.
The beginning in the beginning. Yeah. It's funny how you guys were talking about the very same issues that I was having today. You know, I was sharing with you about how I had sold my motorcycle and miscounted the money and was $500 short. And I just find it interesting how there goes my phone. How distracting. How my own thoughts about, you know, being short, how they were, you know, those were the problems. It was my thoughts about it, and it ended up all working out in the long run. The guy ended up counting his money and realized he had $500 extra and PayPal'd me the money right away. So in the end, it all worked out. But you know, it was me worrying so much and beating myself up for miscounting the money. So let me mute this because my wife, I think, is talking to me. So, but yeah, that was my thoughts about it.
Very good, very good. I saw you nodding there. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very nice. It's so funny. I was talking about the mind being after the fact, how it's always in the past. And I don't mean the content of the thought is in the past, although that's very common too. I mean, thought itself is in the past. And how it's like a sports commentator that's, you know, isolated in a booth nattering away about the game that's going on, but it has nothing to do with the game. And I mean nothing to do with the game. You know? So an example was a friend of mine was quite distressed about a relationship that was questionable in her mind anyway. And one of the complaints was, you know, he never calls me. And she had sent me an email that said, "That's it, I'm done. I'm finished with it. It's over. Blah blah." Right? She just sends, click on the email. Within not even 5 minutes, the phone rings, and guess who it is? Yeah, and then I get back another message saying, "Well, I'm going to go there this weekend," and so, mind thinks it knows something about what's going on, and it tries to freeze things and say, this is the way it is. And this is impossible, because life is ever unfolding. It's ever fresh. There's nothing static about it. There's nothing stagnant about it. You can only have a stagnant thought about life, but life is utterly a blissful gift, moment to moment. As long as you don't overlay like a negative, bad feeling thought on it, then your experience will be one of joy, peace, love, bliss. Does anybody have a question or a subject they want to broach? You're back, Alex. So, yeah.
You'll be able to hear me if I unmute it. Yes, I'm back. My uncle had a computer question.
So, yeah, so talking about, the reason that we suffer is never the reason we think we're suffering. We always think the content over the thought is true, or the reality, but what we're actually suffering over is a thought. And that's good news, because it can end right now. It can be over right now.
Yeah. And today was a perfect example of that. I was just so upset. I was just so mad at myself. I mean, I wasn't mad at the guy. It was my responsibility to count the money, So, yeah, it was just a perfect example about how it's our thoughts that hurt us the most.
Yeah, not even the money. So you never got the $500 difference. I mean, yeah. Okay. Like, if you carry the thought you should have got it, that you did something wrong, that you whatever. There's so many different ways mind can take this. Yeah. And so many different ways mind can suffer with it. But it's completely optional. That's why, the saying, this is how the saying that pain is mandatory, suffering is optional, is true.
Yeah, makes sense. That's kind of one of the drawbacks of life. There's going to be pain, whether you like it or not.
I think, did you miss the part what I was talking about regards to pain when I was younger, when I had an injury? I think you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I missed it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was basically saying that, you're saying one of the drawbacks to life is pain, physical pain. But when I was a child, I didn't even have the word for pain, and I didn't know that pain was, wrong.
Right.
And I was just having a direct experience of this pain, which was, I had this cut in my hand, and it was tingling, and I didn't even have the word for tingling. I said picky. It's picky. And then I said hot. And, my mom said, oh, that's tingling, and that's heat. And she said, and that's pain. And I said, oh, pain. And she said, yes, that's bad. And, oh, stop it then. I had this idea what bad was, and mental psychological bad. But I, in my innocence, didn't apply that to the body, to sensations of the body. So it's possible to just feel sensations of pain without a heavy extra layer of suffering on top.
Yeah. Cindy, can I just ask something about that?
Mm-hmm.
That pain, when you say pain is mandatory, and I've read this in so many different teachings about pain, because, I find pain, God, anyway, pain is just sensations. Is that what you mean when you say, so you're saying sensations are mandatory? Like, because all pain, I just have a problem with the word pain, thinking that means that we're all doomed to suffer forever and ever. But suffering is something different. But when you say pain, you're talking about not pain.
Well, yeah, the quote, I believe, is by the Dalai Lama, and it goes that pain is mandatory and suffering is optional. So, here they're being pointed to as separate things, and pain is like physical pain from some dysfunction of the body or some injury, and suffering is the mental emotional overlay, the fog, on top of it. And the suffering can cause physical pain. And so a large part of our physical pain is optional also. If you stop the suffering, you'll drop a lot of that pain. So I always encourage people to look closely and do the shift, use the practice of alchemy to see how much they can separate. What's truly going on here? How much is physical pain? How much is mental, psychological, emotional suffering?
So are you saying there is such a thing as physical pain?
What level are you want to talk on now?
Well, in truth, in reality.
Okay. Pain is a word for an experience, for a number of experiences. You can't freeze reality, okay? We use the word pain. What is that? That's like there's an injury and there's tingling and there's heat and there's probably more sensations that we don't even have words for. But if you just paid attention to the direct experience, you would know it all. But what we do is we overlay a word. It's sort of like a child, young child who doesn't have all the words yet, looking up at a tree in awe, and just, and an adult comes along and goes, "That's a tree." So the child stops and goes, "Tree, tree, tree." Now what are they experiencing? They're experiencing the word tree, not the tree. Right? And so this is why when people have these awakening experiences, they say their senses come to life. It's because they've been experiencing mind thoughts and, mental illusory crap. And when that falls away, it's like, whoa, oh my God, this is a miracle. This is delicious. This is fabulous. This is juicy. Because it's directly experienced. And when I say direct, that's what I mean. It's not seen through some colored glasses called thought, mind, ego, whatever you want to label it. The label doesn't matter. It's thought. It's all thought, basically.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome. Thought. Yeah. And thought in itself is not a problem. I want to, keep emphasizing that, because some people, now they get the idea, I want to get rid of my bad thoughts. I only want to have my good thoughts. Well, that's a bad thought right there, isn't it? And now they're on edge and they're watching out. And when that bad thought comes up, well, what's wrong with me? How come I can't do this? Like I should be able to control thought. No. Who told you that? Have you ever been able to control a thought? I mean, if you could control thoughts, you would never have a bad one in your life. And you'd know what thought is coming before it would come. And so you could pick, I want that one, not that one, I want this one, I want that one. This is not what happens. What happens is the brain is a reflex organ. That's its job, is to put out thoughts as options. They're kind of sort of mandatory that once they've arisen, but you don't have to believe them. You don't have to put your fourth power, your power of authority into a thought and give it the stamp of approval and give it the stamp of reality and say, yes, this is true. You don't have to do that at all. That's where the little gap comes in. That's where the little space, the little piece, opportunity is. And the more you stay with the senses in the body, feeling the feet, the top of the head, taking in the peripheral vision and noticing the breath moving in and moving out, the more you do that, the quicker you see thoughts come. And the more distance you have from thought, to notice it, to look at a thought instead of looking through and as a thought, which would be otherwise called unconsciousness. This is how we get lost in thought.
Yeah, I suppose I'm just having a bit of opening up to the whole feeling thing, because most of my life, 90% of my life, I numbed myself. I didn't want to feel anything.
That's not possible.
Hey?
That's not possible. Is it possible to stop hearing what you're hearing?
No.
Yeah. Is it possible to stop feeling the body, sensing the body?
Well, if you take a whole heap of drugs, you can basically make yourself feel pretty numb.
Well, you'll have a different feeling, but you
And
haven't stopped feeling. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, yes. Having done my own little experiment and survey for the benefit of mankind, I can say that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What some people say, what they mean when they say, I stopped feeling, is some convoluted idea that they've tried to stuff down thoughts about emotions. Now, emotions are just thoughts. So they've tried to control and manipulate thoughts and emotions, which are thoughts. Feeling is always there, right? And you're either feeling good, you're feeling bad, you could be feeling neutral, but not unless you're probably meditating. Or you're just unconscious. You're not even aware that you're feeling, which can happen. Everybody's had this experience of maybe sitting on their foot for too long and not knowing, not having an awareness of that. It's not you didn't have awareness of that. I'm going to correct myself here. It's that, I'll demonstrate this in a moment. Your power of attention. Some people say, my attention wasn't on my foot. Okay, what does that mean?
When focused.
Actually, they don't even say that. They say, I wasn't paying attention to it. So what is this not paying attention to it? How do you not do something? You can't not do something. What it means is you're doing something else. Right? So your attention has gone elsewhere. It's contracted down onto something else to such a degree that that's all there appears to be in your experience. Of course, your foot is still there. And when you come out of this unconsciousness and you notice your foot is, well, you won't notice it until you take your foot out, of course, then you'll really notice it. Because your body is sort of held hostage by this stream of thinking, especially if it's unconscious. Only if it's unconscious, actually. Because you wouldn't consciously hold your body hostage, right? So what happens is, though, you go off on a stream of thinking that's tense or painful or stressful, and you do this, and then all of a sudden you might notice that it let go, and you relaxed, and the shoulders dropped, and everything dropped, right? There's a little moment of waking up. And then you might go, I got this crap in my neck, because the body has been held hostage. So your power of attention is like your breath. It'll go on autopilot if you don't take conscious control of it. And now you probably are all feeling your breath just because I mentioned it, huh? What happened? Had your breathing stopped before I mentioned it? No, eh? No. What happened? Your power of attention was contracted onto something else, my voice or your thoughts about my words or something, yeah? So try this for an experiment. Feel into your feet and the top of your head at the same time. And to do this, you have to open attention. You have to relax. And it might help to open your eyes and take in your peripheral vision also. Just look ahead a little downward at one spot, but open your attention and notice the walls or the people or the couch or whatever on the side of you. Mm-hmm. And then add in your breath. And notice your breath moving in and moving out. Do that all at once. What's that like?
I find it a bit overwhelming.
Okay, if you're finding it overwhelming, well, if you're finding it hard work, it's probably because you're trying to contract your power of attention onto everything all at once. And you can't do it. Okay, so just take two things. Just take your feet and the top of your head. And feel your feet, and then add your top of your head. And just relax. Can you do that?
I keep going from one to the other.
All right. So
I,
just relax a little bit more. Feel your shoulders drop. Take in your peripheral vision, because I really find that helps in doing this, because you really get the idea of opening. Okay?
there's a side bit, isn't it?
Hmm?
Is that
Yeah, the things on the side. So
Yeah.
so you can look ahead in front of you, and as you do that, you notice, just it's kind of fuzzy and blurry, but you do notice things to your left and right?
Yeah.
You can do that?
Mm.
Okay. So do that, and now feel your feet at the same time. What's that like? You might have only done it for just a moment.
Oh, it's a bit scary. I feel like I'm just going to go out of my body and be disembodied.
So it feels very, is that very open and spacious then, we can say?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want you to stay with the direct experience, not a thought about it. So the idea I'm going to be disembodied is a thought. That's not your direct experience. Your body is still here. We can all see it.
Right.
You haven't left it. Okay?
If I disappear, just yell out.
So what I want you to do is do it again, but if that thought comes, just come back to your feet, come back to your senses. Okay? This is where I think the term come to your senses came from. It's what I call coming to your senses. Okay? So just if that thought comes in, never mind it, come back, feel your feet and the top of your head, and take in your peripheral vision. And when there's no thought, I want you to tell me what that's like. Like no thought of, I'm going to be disembodied. Okay? Just notice one of those moments, okay? And tell me what that's like. What's it like for you, Jacqueline?
I have to say I'm pretty calm about it.
Yeah, it's calm, eh?
Yeah.
Did you get a taste of it, Linda?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be very, very peaceful and calming. I think I have done a tiny bit because I've listened to your recordings and I've gone along with it, and I think I had a little glimpse of it was just so relaxing, but I just seem to be so wound up.
You might have a little bit more difficulty now because we're also being, we're live and being recorded and it's, public and blah, blah. Sometimes, people. But if you practice this at home in the privacy of your own home and neurology, it's always in the privacy of your own neurology. Nobody knows what's going on inside here. Okay? You're safe that way. So even if you notice it for just a glimpse, I'd like you to get a glimpse of it, okay? Right now, because I want to use that glimpse. So just feel your feet.
Yep.
Feel your feet. Look at the walls. Look straight ahead and notice the walls or whatever's beside you. And notice the breath. What would you call that? How would you describe that?
Love.
Love. Wow. Isn't that better than being disembodied?
Much better.
Wonderful. Let me ask you, is it quiet?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it quiet?
Well, I know it's because there's no thoughts, only because I listened to your recording.
No, I want to know from your own direct experience. You see, that is an example. That is an example of what I would call secondhand knowledge. Okay. Thought knowledge. Thought knowledge. Yeah. You're cheating. Okay. So thought knowledge is okay. It kind of points you where to look, but it's only thought knowledge. It's sort of like, any parrot can say, "Oh, it was quiet. Oh, it was quiet." Oh, it was quiet. Does the parrot know quiet? No. That's like I can say, it's glass. But does the word glass, is that this? No. You know what quiet is. Right? And so you can recognize it as quiet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's quiet for that reason, because you have taken your power of attention away from the stream of stressful thinking. You've pulled the plug. You've done it by putting your power of attention into the rest of your body, into the senses. So mind can settle down. Clarity can come. Wisdom will come. The wisdom you don't have when you're in a tiny state. There's a reason we call it a blind rage when someone is in a violent rage. They literally become blind, deaf, and ignorant to everything going on around them. That's how they can cut off another car or yell and scream at somebody and not see the pain on their face. And then not remember their own yelling and screaming, even. Because they're so tightly contracted onto this one thought, probably, like, you shouldn't have done that. There is nothing else for them. There isn't, reality isn't gone for them, but their experience becomes very tiny and painful. And we have had this habit of, if something feels bad, we believe it just because it feels bad. And that's how misunderstandings happen, right? You have a bad thought feeling about something, you believe it to be true, you get angry at somebody, and then you find out, because there's this glaring proof that that's wrong, that what you thought is completely, utterly wrong. And if you're at all sane, you'll see that and realize and go, oh, I'm sorry, there was a misunderstanding. No, it's called a mind read. I call them mind reads. You're mind reading somebody else's purpose, state, or intention and feeling with what's going on with them. And of course, you can never know somebody else's purpose or state. How can you know this? Okay, so our world is mad. We go about mind reading individuals, cities, countries, armies. And this individual error results in mass wars. So I say there's no outer peace without inner peace. So inner peace has to come first, and that's how important you and everybody else is. There's this saying, peace of mind. I use it sometimes, but it doesn't make any sense, because mind and peace, not the same thing, right? However, there can be clarity of mind, and it works better than blind rages and the like. And they can be even so simple and innocuous. Everything starts that way, because truth and reality is never harmful. It's never harmful. So staying with the direct experience of what's true is the safe place to be for you, for everybody. People think it's, the best thing to do is go out and be on the guard and have to protect myself and make sure nobody's doing me any wrong. And if they are, I've got to go and fix them and change them and make them stop. And you're creating your own hell right here on earth, which is heaven. And why do we do that? We do that because of the happiness lie that we've been handed down. Generation after generation has been told that things, people, or events make us happy or unhappy. It's a nice and romantic idea to think that things and people make us happy. But as soon as you accept this belief, you automatically accept the belief, the other side of the coin, that they make you unhappy. And so now you are attached to the winds of change on a roller coaster of whatever happens out there, jerks your chain, right? But it's a chain of your own making. Nobody else made it. Nobody else made it. So you can stop making it.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of my favourite lines, out of A Course in Miracles, which is, it is your thoughts alone that cause you pain. nothing external to you has the power to reach down and cause oppression.
That's right.
It's just, it's so wonderful to not be a victim of everything external and to not be at the whim of everything that changes, because that's just a terrible way to live.
That's you against the universe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a lost battle. Like, who wants to take that battle on? Are you kidding?
No.
You know, as long as you believe you're the particular at war with the infinite, you're in trouble. When you recognize that you're the universal, there's nothing to be at war with.
Yeah.
You know, it does feel like sometimes that it's, at least at one point in my life, that it was me against the world. That, you know, if I wanted to succeed, the only way it was going to happen was to, you know, step on as many people as possible in order to succeed. And you know, do whatever it takes and break whatever laws is necessary, and you know, do whatever it takes to succeed. Well, not whatever laws, but you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Recently, I've had more of an experience that the universe is out there for my benefit, for my good. That whatever happens is happening for my benefit, for my best interest.
Yes.
And you know, when I can look at it that way, I can then look at, well, why is this event upsetting me? What is my misperception that's happening here that's making me upset? Because as long as I hold on to the belief that whatever's happening is for my benefit, then the only reason I could be upset is if I have a misperception.
Exactly. And you know, we can't be too hard on ourselves, because it's even built into our habitual speaking. A moment ago you said, you know, why is this event upsetting me? This is a common way people speak, but the implication there is what? That the event is somehow...
Victim to the event, yeah.
You're a victim to the event, and the event is somehow, I don't know how,
Right.
you know, hurting you.
Yeah.
The pain is not in the event. It never was, it never will be. The pain is within here.
Right. My thoughts about the event.
In the body, mind, the thoughts that you believe
Right.
about the event, the thoughts you give your power of authority to.
Right.
And so actually, when, you know, what happened to me when everything changed, I had a hard time speaking, only because the habitual thoughts were coming forward, and it was very fast. They just started to come out off my lips, and I'd be halfway through and I'd go, that's not true. You know? And they'd be dropping and dropping, and then I'd be dropping faster and faster before they were even partly voiced, and then before they were even completely formed in the brain. And now you won't hear me ever say that he hurt me or it stresses me or anything, because on this I am very clear that if I am hurting, I'm doing it to myself. Period. This is where the buck stops, or the puck, or whatever it is. You know, and I started to do that even before I really I'm going to say embodied it. This is getting really nebulous here, but I knew mentally, and this is what a lot of my clients say, I know that mentally, but how, you know, I don't really know that, like they'll say in my cells or something, whatever that is. And so the thing is, though, if you don't stand in your authority, it has to start there. Because if you don't stand in your authority, you will, consciously or unconsciously, blame things, and you will continue to blame things, and you will continue to suffer. And your suffering will continue to beget suffering in others. It's the mass unconsciousness. Go ahead.
Could I just ask something? Is blaming others, is that the same sort of error as blaming my body? Like, for instance, all day today I've been thinking, oh, I am getting so fat. You know, I just keep eating pizzas and donuts and just eating all the time, and like I'm out of control, and like I look at my body and I've just put on so much weight I can't fit into any of my clothes, and so that's my evidence, you know. And the more I think about it, the more I get worried, and the more I eat. And so blaming others, it's sometimes I look at my body and I think, oh, I just hate my body, you know.
Oh, okay.
I hate myself
I
and
have a
all of
couple.
that stuff.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this. Do you have a garden?
A garden, yeah.
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 You have a garden? So,
Yes.
you know, in the spring, say when it's full of weeds, do you look at it and go, "Oh, I hate that garden. I'm just going to neglect it. I just
No,
hate it." No.
no, no, I don't.
And
No.
what do you do? Do you love it?
I don't know if I love it. I pull the weeds out and then my neck gets really sore.
Is that loving the garden? Is tending the garden loving the garden?
I've never thought of it like loving like that.
You know, the thing about our language and the word love is that we have one word that's supposed to fit all. And it doesn't. So love is, our society thinks love is a feeling. You know, love is this ooey gooey, yummy in my tummy feeling. Um, and our society thinks, well, if I don't have this ooey gooey thing, then, well, I just can't take care of that thing because it's too ugly. Or I can't be with you because this ooey gooey lovey thingy is gone. Or, you know, right? But the thing is that if you don't love the garden, as in love the verb, not the feeling. You know, if you had a child and the child was sick, would you just go, "Oh, I don't, you're yucky, stay away. I'm not having anything to do with you." No, you love the child. How do you love the child? Right? You take care of them, right?
Right, right,
Your body is
right.
the same.
Oh, bugger. I haven't been doing that at all my whole life. I haven't been taking care of it at all.
Your body is like a garden. How do you ever expect it to be beautiful in how you think it should be if you're not taking care of it?
So I can't continue to eat donuts and pizzas and chocolate and just heal my mind and just keep on eating all the stuff I like. I can't. I've got to take care of my body. I've got to start eating healthy stuff.
You got to start loving your body. If you love your body, you'll take care of it.
Okay.
You can't wait for it to be a certain way in order for you to take care of it, because it'll never happen because you're not taking care of it.
Well, how on earth do I love it? I've hated it my whole life.
And so
Everything
what have
about
you
it.
been telling it, and how have you been treating it, and therefore what are your results?
I've been telling myself that if I didn't have the body, things would be much easier. I could just go back to God, you know.
Oh, okay.
And then it's all the body's fault.
Ooh.
I know. Yeah, it's a bit harsh, isn't it?
So,
You know, I can relate to what she's talking about. I mean, it almost seems like in some spiritual circles that, you know, the only goal is everything but the body, that, you know, everything of the ego and the body is bad, and that, you know, the only thing we want is heaven, basically.
Yeah.
But my thoughts on that have been, well, if we keep, I don't know, maybe we keep reincarnating in bodies. I don't really know, but, you know, based on that thought, let's say we've lived 100 or 1,000 lives. Well, why do we keep coming back? What's the point? What's the purpose? We must be coming back for a reason. So to me, it's just like, well, there's got to be something else. It's not the exclusion of the body that we're looking for. It seems like there's an inclusion of the body and something else that we're looking for. What are your thoughts on that, Cindy?
all right. So, yeah. Yeah. The thing is, you're not who you think you are. Okay? And thinking that you are something separate has ousted God. How could you possibly be separate from God, from all that is, from truth, from reality. How could you possibly be separate? To think that you are separate and that you need to get back to God is a thought. The idea that there's even a separate world out there that you're not part of somehow. Okay? Let me ask you this question. Can you separate my words from your hearing?
No.
Yeah. And by the same token, I can't separate your face from my seeing. So I don't know a you and a me. I know the undivided whole that is here and now.
Yeah.
And it includes the body.
Oh. That's something I need to work on, because I know you've had a lot of thoughts about this thing, but I did try and kill myself. Well, I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted just to get rid of the body, and I thought to myself, once I get into whatever dimension I'm going to, I'll just refuse to come back. This was my thinking, because I thought, well, yeah. So anyway, it didn't work out.
So you think you're the body? Obviously. Do you think you're the body?
No, I don't know. No, I don't. I know. Well, it's like what you said. Like, I know intellectually, I've been told, no, I'm not the body.
No, I don't want. No, let's look at it. Because I am
Yeah.
never satisfied with intellectual. I reject
No.
all. Okay. Yeah. Good. Good. So be adamant for this. Okay. Absolute
Yeah,
truth. Absolute truth should be knowable in your own direct experience. You don't need a thought or a theory or somebody else's belief. It has to be true here and now, or it's not true. Okay.
Yeah.
So, were you there on your 10th birthday?
Yes.
The same you who's here now, right? Was there on your 10th birthday?
See, now I'm just getting all intellectual. Like, well, the spirit of me was
Yeah,
the
don't
real.
think about that. Don't think about that. Don't think about that. No. I want you to remember your 10th birthday, because you do. Something about it.
Do I?
Let's take your 16th birthday. Do you remember your 16th?
16th.
21st?
No. I remember my 21st. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So were you there on your 21st birthday?
I don't understand the question.
Well, were you there? Were you there then?
Well, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And you're here now. Same you, right?
I suppose, yeah.
How could it be any different? It's the same you, right?
Yeah, well, everything looks, I mean, gee, I'm older now. I'm old now.
That was going to be, well, you're not older. You see, this is going to be my next question. Same you, right? Same you. There then as now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same me.
Different body.
Different body, yeah.
Right?
And different thoughts and ideas and beliefs. I mean, gee, I was really in a bad way back then.
Yeah, different personality, whatever you want to call that, right? Yeah,
Everything.
all of that stuff, everything is different, but not everything. Right? Something is the same, or you wouldn't even know your 21st birthday. In order to know change, there must be the changeless. Okay? So, because your body has changed, but you haven't, you know you're not the body. Now do you know it?
Could you just say that again, Cindy?
Because your body has changed and you have not, you're the same you are not the body. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Now you know this, not just as a thought. You can confirm this.
I don't feel like I'm confirming it though, because now I'm just imagining the body is just all changed configuration, but it's still
How do you know that?
blob of matter.
How do you know that?
How do I know that?
Yeah.
I suppose I don't know that. I mean, when you look at scientists, they say your cells renew themselves. They're probably all totally everything.
Never mind all that thought. I want to know in your own direct experience. How do you know the body has changed?
Well, because it looks so different.
Yeah. Something knows how it used to look, something that has not changed. Because imagine if everything changed, including yourself, how would you know anything? It would be just all total chaos of nothing. There'd be no linear anything.
Oh, you mean there'd be no like consciousness to be aware that it had changed?
There has to be the changeless, right?
Yeah, the changeless. Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be.
There has to be.
I suppose I just don't know what that changeless thing is. That's what I want. I don't want the rest of it. I just want the changeless bit.
Yeah, well, you were there then, and you are here now. Same you, right? That's the changeless.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you are not the body. You are, and now you know it not just as a thought, as thought knowledge. Okay, you know it. Okay.
Thank you for being so patient.
No problem. No problem. So we could go on for hours here, but our time is up for the evening on this call. But I know that are we going to, Alex, go over to Course in Miracles Open Minds Paul Talk?
Oh, yeah, I had talked about it, thought about it, but no, I think it's all good.
Okay.
They had an opening on the schedule. I thought we might include this on that, but it's all right. Maybe next time.
If I were to do that, I would just like to keep them separate. What I was saying in my text cues, I would just keep it clean. I would close this and then reopen over there.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I intend. That's what I meant by it.
Okay.
Just to not confuse the different people up. So yeah, I guess we will we'll wrap it up. That was a lot of good work. Thank you for sticking through that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to just try and figure out how to get out of where I am.
Where are you?
Linda, I just wanted to thank you, Linda, for sharing, because there was really a lot that you had to share that I've experienced myself and been there myself. So thank you for that.
Very nice.
Thank you so much, Alex. And I just wanted to say something so funny happened, because when I saw you, Alex, down there, and I thought, then I started talking about A Course in Miracles, and I had no idea whether any of you were into A Course in Miracles, and I mentioned A Course in Miracles, and then you disappeared, Alex, and then I thought, oh no, he's disappeared because he hates me because I mentioned A Course in Miracles and he thinks that's a load of crap. I shouldn't have said that. And my mind's just going on, and I was sort of watching it, but how ridiculous is that I made up that whole story and none of it was true?
And that goes exactly with what Cindy was talking about on the mind reads, and how our own thoughts sometimes are our worst enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Thank
it also...
God I was wrong.
Was that Linda?
Thank God I was wrong.
Yeah, thank God. By the way, I took A Course in Miracles just last year, actually. Just did the workbook myself and with my wife. So I'm a avid fan of the Course in Miracles myself.
Excellent. Woohoo!
Yeah. It's been rather interesting that after I started sharing these things, the people who were reading and listening and talking to me were saying, this is so much like A Course in Miracles. This is so much like A Course in Miracles. I said, what's that? And it was through them that I got introduced to, it. And when I did pick it up once and start to read. But mostly it was the quotes people were putting out. They're giving me tingles and shivers. I just love it. And I go, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, truth is truth, right? Whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So oftentimes you'll find some people around who are familiar with it, and sometimes not. And so, but since I knew most people, I'm not sure about our other guest. I didn't actually talk about what that was, but truth is truth, so it doesn't matter. You know, and your little story about the mind, I just absolutely love too, because it's not even just mind reads about other people. It's the story of the whole I and my existence and the world and everything else that goes along with it. It's completely illusory. This is the dream. You know, we have one Earth. We have 7 billion people in 7 billion different worlds on one Earth, and they quite often clash because the worlds, you know, they all have their own little personal needs and wants and fears and hopes, and they're just banging up against each other. And when that all falls away, you realize everybody has the same objective at heart, which is love and joy and peace. Underneath everything, even if it looks violent. I know it's a radical thing to say, but even if it looks violent, underneath that, the purpose, the intention is everybody wants to be happy. So we can take comfort in knowing that we all have the same common desire, and we're all seeking happiness and truth. So thank you for sharing yours tonight.
Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you both and everybody.
Lovely to meet you, Linda.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for coming again, Alex.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.